I can settle down and be doing just fine till I hear an old freight rolling down the line. Then I heard
conversation too, and people
The same
don't
thing.
change it.
They're liking the bloke still. So, yeah.
I think there's a real place for it. I've been on a lot of podcasts overseas, especially in America, that are doing what you're doing.
Yep.
There's not much of it here in Australia, and I think it's needed.
Yeah. And the ones in Australia tend to be blokey. You know, it's a bit of dick swing, and it's a bit of it's all footy or cricket or sport or this or that. And we wanted to show that blokes are into much more than just that. Blokes are into reading, they're into literature, they're into meditation, or they're into spiritualism, or they're into helping the environment.
Chinese medicine.
We're a big range of
Happy to talk. I don't know if you knew or remembered, but the book, the only book I've had properly published, is The Art of Conscious Communication for Thoughtful Men.
Yeah, I've looked. I haven't. I downloaded your more recent one yesterday, I think. Looked through that, but I don't know if I've ever read.
So that's a talking point in regards to men, and the men that have come out to me talking about being vulnerable and anxiety and depression and things they didn't feel safe to talk about. Also, for Men's Mental Health Day a few years ago, I coach Jared, who runs Cardinia Park Stadium Trust.
Oh, yeah.
And they got me in for Men's Mental Health Day, and I just got a group of guys in suits sitting around and just being vulnerable. And they all opened up, and there were tears. There was people talking about anxiety. There was and guys saying, "I've never shared this with anyone."
Yep.
And what happened after that day is they all became much more trusting. They all became better workmates. They all leaned into each other. The camaraderie went up.
Yep.
All that. So there's
cool.
things we can talk about like that.
Well, let's delve into that. But before we do that, let's establish who you are and how I know you. So, Jem, thank you for joining us. We were just, as you were walking down the driveway, we were establishing that we met through a networking group called BNI.
Yes.
From probably 10 to 12 years ago, I reckon it would have been.
It would have been 13 years ago.
13 years ago, yeah. And from memory for me, you were... I might be wrong, but it felt like you were kind of fairly newly getting into the coaching role.
I was brand new.
And life coaching, is that what you call it? Life business?
I've always avoided the term life coaching, only because it's, I don't know, it sounds a bit wanky to me, but also for whatever, for good or for worse, the term coaching has been really kind of bastardized online by people saying, I can help you make, $100,000 and selling coaches into selling coaching into selling coaching. And so I've just kind of tried to steer clear from that. But to be honest, the term I've adopted is leadership coach.
Yep.
But to be honest, when you're working with someone, it does actually end up becoming life coaching, because you're talking about them and how functional they are and how well are they leading, or how, what's their quality of life like. So yes, it's funny. It is actually life coaching, but I just don't like the term.
I don't like the term. Neither do I. That's why I said it with trepidation.
We'll have to come up with something that's better, that means exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Leave it with me. I'll come back to
it. So let's sort of maybe explore what led you to that point where you started deciding that you were going to be a coach or a leadership consultant or a leadership coach, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
You're a local Torquay.
Jan Jacques,
Jan Jacques.
Jan Jacques Belbray.
Yep.
I haven't always been down this way. Previous to here was down in Aries.
Oh yeah.
And wasn't always in Aries, and my kids went to Aries Primary. So since I became a dad, essentially moved down to Aries Inlet, and the kids went there. But I grew up in Melbourne.
Yep.
Left Melbourne 20-something years ago.
And does surfing bring you down this way, like most people?
No, not initially. But then I only started surfing when I was 40.
Yeah.
So I'm a hack. But I love it.
I'd never started. I got here. We would have been 30. I would have been 39, I guess, when we moved here.
Right.
And I'm too old to start surfing. That looks...
Yeah. I started when I was 40, and I'd frothed on it for a long time. I really, really loved it.
Yep.
Both of my boys have grown up surfing.
Yeah.
They're much better in the waves than I am, but I love being in the water.
Yeah, me too. I get in the water every day anyway. I don't surf, but I get in. just for the thrill of it.
Yeah.
For the rush of the cold, as well as for the just the healing properties of the
good for the mental health, good for the physical health. 100%.
Yeah, for sure.
I've thought about it in also why do I love living by the ocean?
Yep.
Talia, my partner, and I, love living down here, but we also love the mountains. So we go to the mountains to run retreats, but we live by the ocean.
Yeah.
And I've thought about why it gives us so much perspective. When you look at the horizon of the ocean, you've just got this unbroken, perfect, clear line that reminds you that you're on a ball.
Yeah.
Floating around a star.
Yeah.
In a galaxy.
Yeah.
That is 120,000 light years across, and that's one of trillions of galaxies. So it's the perspective thing for me. I look out and remember that, the problems that can be consuming all of a sudden don't really matter too much.
In the scheme of things.
That's it.
It's either by the beach or Silverton, west of Broken Hill, where you can see the curve of the Earth. I've seen, if you're right out in Central Australia in some locations where it's absolutely flat as a shit cutter's hat, you can, maybe it might be my imagination, but you feel like you can actually see it. You can feel that curvature, which
the flat earthers won't be happy with us, right?
Send it out there. They'll have a reason for it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So what were you doing leading up to starting your own business, to doing the leadership consultant thing? What?
Most recently before, and I'll tell you the bigger, an overview of the longer journey because it's more interesting than this, but most recently before losing my corporate job, was in a suit and tie working for Flight Centre, actually. And I was in senior leadership at Flight Centre. One of the things they did really well was leadership development. They put a lot of coin into that and a lot of resource into it. So I was the beneficiary of some really good leadership training. And we got... my state manager, I was a senior leader, and the state manager got an external coach. I didn't even know what a leadership coach was back then. But got this guy to come in and did a 3-day session with the senior leadership group. And he was like a magician. He was a human behavioural expert, and he came in and he just had us all pegged. And within an hour, he had us all understood. And he's like, you think like this, you think, I'm going, how do you know me? This is insane. Anyway, I was blown away by what he did. And on one of the lunch breaks, I said to him, mate, what do you do for a job? And he goes, I teach this stuff. And I said, I love it. I want to do it. And at the time, I was building a house down in Aries, and our kids were in the primary school there. And so I was pretty financially committed, and I was earning good money in the corporate world. And so I said to him, do you mind me asking how much you earn? I just want to make sure this is, I can pursue this viable. And he told me, and my jaw dropped, and I went, holy shit, half of that's fine, So I went home to my then wife and I said, I want to do this thing called coaching. And she said, oh, okay. And I said, one day I'll quit my corporate job one day. And the timing of things heard me but didn't get the timing right. And within a couple of months, I'd lost my job. So I went and took the little bit of money that I got from the handshake from the corporate, and I went and studied coaching.
So you lost your job unrelatedly. That just happened.
Unrelatedly.
So that was just coincidence. And after you'd already decided you wanted to get out anyway.
Yeah, and it was just a couple of years after my dad died, my brother died, lost the job, marriage went to shit. Was in financial strife, had to sell the house that I'd built. And that was what people call the midlife crisis, right? And I was in my early 40s. For me, it was actually, with the benefit of hindsight, I mean, it was terrible at the time, but looking back, it was actually a midlife opportunity. It was a midlife awakening. And I really got to go back and do some deep work on myself again and become a better dad, and then consequentially down the track, a better partner and everything like that. But leading up to that corporate job, I wasn't a typical corporate. I was covered in tattoos and stretched ears and yada, yada. And my life had been bumming around the world, tattooing, fire dancing, motorcycle couriering, volunteering in third world countries, just off the grid. From the age of 18 through to 32, I was pretty alternative and just...
Traveller.
Traveller all around the world. I couldn't get far enough away. I went to Xavier College, which is interesting because I haven't been back there since the last day of high school. And I pretty much haven't seen anyone I went to high school.
Well, I imagine your path hasn't been a typical Xavier College graduate path.
No. I bumped into
So, mate, you should have been a tech boy, like gone to Hamilton Tech or Bendigo or Kangaroo Flat Tech. Right. We can't shake our old mates off because we're all just hanging around. We've done nothing, see?
We're doing nothing.
So we're just hanging around hard.
Still hanging around the pub.
I bumped into an old Zav at my my sister married a bloke who, he didn't go to Xavier, but he knew a whole bunch of old Zavs from Trinity College, he went to Newman, actually. He was in Newman College.
Melbourne.
Country boy, yeah. Anyway, so my brother-in-law knows some old Zavarians. And there was one of them at his last party on his farm in Forest. My sister's on a farm in Forest. And so I was catching up with this bloke who I hadn't seen since high school. And, and he's a lawyer and all the things, but he moved through all of that and realised and came out the other side. Really lovely bloke. And it was just interesting how different the paths can be, from going to the same private boys' school with a bunch of priests, sitting fellas on their laps and stuff.
Yeah. Wow.
Anyway.
Yeah. So where did you live in Melbourne? Where did you grow up in
I grew
Melbourne?
up in Lower Templestowe.
In Lower Templestowe, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and it was horse paddocks and orchards and we used to ride our dirt bikes around and make jumps out the back. Out the back of my place was just big paddocks. When we were little kids, we had our BMXs, and when we became teenagers, we got our motorbikes, our dirt bikes, and used to get up to all sorts of mischief.
Because it was old orchards and fruit orchards, wasn't it, back in the day?
Orchards and horse paddocks.
That part of Melbourne was, a lot of fruit grown up there.
When Mum and Dad bought their place, the house I grew up in, there was our house, and then, like 6 or 7 blocks up was the next house.
Yep.
And 6 or 7 blocks up again. And so then every time a house block sold and a new house got built, Mum and Dad would bundle us kids up and we'd all go over to the new neighbours with a hamper.
Yeah.
Welcome them
to the neighbourhood. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
And siblings?
Yeah, oldest of 4.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's me, 2 years to my sister, 2 years to my brother, 4 years to the last one, who we always joked and thought he was a mistake when we found out when we were adults that he wasn't. Mum lied to Dad and said she didn't tell him she'd gone off contraception because she wanted another kid.
She was a mistake only by one, not by 2.
That's right, yeah. And he's the one who tragically died on his motorbike when he was 30.
Oh, it was an accident.
Yeah, he had a head-on just outside the Grampians.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
How long ago? So I'm just trying to do the maths.
2010.
Yeah, okay.
So 16 years. So, and the timing was extra shitty because Dad died when he was 65 from a brain tumour.
Yeah.
And my youngest brother had said he was living in Canada with his wife, and he called up and said to Mum, "I'm going to move home." We all actually moved back to Melbourne for Dad.
Yeah.
So we were all living elsewhere. We all came back to Melbourne, and my brother said to Mum, "I'm going to move home. We'll do palliative care for Dad at home," which we did. And Dad, even though he was only 65, it was actually ended up being, as much as a death can be beautiful, it was actually quite beautiful. We were all bedside.
At home.
Palliative care at home. So we did that. And then 4 months after Dad had died, Tim died on his motorbike. So Mum lost her life partner and then the youngest of her 4 kids within a few months. Yeah.
That's a lot of
And that's why we all moved down the coast.
Okay.
So when Tim died, we all wanted to be closer together, but we wanted to be out of the city.
Yep.
So we all moved
right.
down this way.
Your mum as well?
Mum as well. Mum lives with me now on the farm in Belbray,
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So you're on a farm in Belbray. You're on a bit of land there, are you?
We've got the best rental around, mate.
Yeah, okay.
It's insane. It's a I don't know what the value on this property is. It's a 300-acre sheep farm.
Jeez.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, wow.
It's owned by a billionaire in Melbourne. He's not around anymore. His daughter owns it.
Yep.
It's a land bank. They want to cut it up and they can't.
Yep.
They can't turn it into a suburb yet, thankfully.
Yep.
And we've got a long-term lease on it. 300 acres, ocean views. We look over your place and we can see the ocean. On a clear day, we can see the heads.
Wow.
So the land would be worth whatever it's worth, ridiculous amount. And there's a farmer who agists and he runs his sheep on the farm.
So it's managed. So you don't have to worry about it.
We don't have to worry about it. He runs
That's
his
a lot
sheep.
of work.
Yeah. No, we've got 5 acres around 2 farmhouses.
Yeah.
So my brother, the one obviously who's still around, him and his wife and their 3 little kids, me and my 2 adult boys and my mum, so 3 generations, 2 families in 2 farmhouses.
Yeah, wow.
On this farm in Belbray.
In Belbray. Beautiful farm.
And we've been there for 10 years.
The ocean.
Yeah, and we'll stay there as long as we want.
And overlooking the Spring Valley?
Yep, Spring Creek
Valley?
Yep.
Which, 2 episodes ago, we had on Graham Stockton, who has pretty much led the fight to save Spring Creek Valley.
Thanks, mate.
So we talked a lot about Spring Creek Valley
Appreciate
and
that.
keeping the developers out. So,
Well, he's done well.
Yeah. And obviously they're hoping that the developers will never go west of Duffield Road. So hopefully that land's protected forever. But
certainly protected for the foreseeable future at the moment.
You just never know, I guess, what governments come in and what governments come out, and how badly, how much the population continues to grow, and how badly we need people to live somewhere. But,
Jim, do you know about the film that's been made of the saving of the creek?
I don't think I do. No, I don't know.
So we're going...
Yeah, the 4th of September it is.
The 4th of September, we're going to see the film that's been made.
That's a Friday night.
It's a Friday night.
Yeah,
Here,
gallery.
I'm around.
The old basketball
I
court.
fly out the next morning, but I'm there on the Friday night.
Google it. I know that the tickets were limited, but you might get a ticket.
It's free, but
it's free, but they've got a limited number of people. But there's another showing a few weeks later
at the Pivotonian.
At the Pivotonian in Geelong.
Right.
And by the sound of it, like this is a film made of the ground up community based action that's been behind saving it. And Graham's going to speak about the journey, and then they're going to show the film. And it's been shown already around the world. Like there's it's been made by proper filmmakers. This is not just a old home video thing. So I think it'll be fantastic. So
great.
I'm looking forward to it.
Surf Coast Environment Group is the website.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where it is.
Good. I'll go look that up.
Have a look.
Yeah. So, cool. So you get to a point where you're, you've bummed around the world, lived the life, lived a great life as travellers love, and then you've gotten in a corporate job. I'm assuming because you had travel experience and they needed someone.
I didn't know what else to do, mate.
And then and you've had this realization that you want to do this coaching. I guess that there's a lot of courses and stuff. You probably, I'm imagining you're reading a lot of books. You're doing a lot of courses, pretty much similar to what you're probably running now.
Yeah.
Is that how you kind of get to the point where you're trained up and confident enough to be able to do what you do now?
Yeah, yeah. And every step of the way, when you're stepping into something that you're not confident to do, you're shitting yourself and you do it anyway, right?
Yeah.
Every step of the way.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so, look, I went to the Coaching Institute in South Melbourne, dove in the deep end and went through everything I could within 6 months and started coaching within 6 months. And, I remember getting my first client and I didn't know how to ask someone to pay me money to sit down and have a chat with them.
Yeah.
And I said, I'll tell you what, I'll sit down and have a chat with you. And at the end, if you want to, no, you don't have to, but if you want to, and you just pay me what you think it's worth. And I sat down with a friend of a friend and we had a chat for an hour. And when I left, she gave me $50, a $50 note. Okay. And I rang my partner and just went, oh my God, someone just gave me money to have a chat with them, and that was the start of that. Wow. And now it's, now I'm working with ultra high net worth folks around the world and helping people who make decisions that have pretty big ramifications. So
one-on-one, or are we talking a room full of people? Both.
Both.
Yeah.
Both. Yep. So my clients are one-to-one, keynote talking at conferences and events, running retreats. I run retreats with my partner, Talia. Yep. And also working with executive leadership teams on designing and implementing culture, a cultural framework. Yep. How do we get everyone, singing from the same song sheet? How do we get everyone values aligned? How do we get everyone, kind of aiming for the same goals, the same vision? Yep. But how do we communicate that through a large organisation, through all the different levels of an organisational chart? How do we get people actually leaning in and engaged, which is not easy to do. But it's fascinating and now actually it's funny because for the last I've been running my coaching practice for 13 years and banging on about what people call soft skills. Like learn how to communicate or learn emotional intelligence or learn how to be calm in amongst the storm, and it's stuff that people, it's kind of like a luxury box tick. People, if they've got the money in the past, they go, oh yeah, we invest in our people a bit here and there. And then COVID came and there was a thing like, psychological safety and mental well-being, and all of this was on the boardroom table as a risk item on their analysis. So they're going, oh crap, we got to look after our people. That became that thing. The pendulum's kind of swung, I think, a little bit too far the other way after that. But now with AI, and this is what I'm being asked to speak about globally. And this is what I'm really passionate about at the moment. It's interesting because my prediction, it's not only my prediction, but my prediction, the prediction I subscribe to, is that in the next 5 years, you'll see that two of the main kind of KPIs that people have built their own self-worth on in the workplace, which is knowledge. How much do I know? So the more experience I've got and the more knowledgeable I am, the more I get paid. And productivity. How much can I churn out? Both of those are going to be taken away by AI. 100%. AI will do the knowledge. It's not there yet, but it will be. It will do the knowledge thing better than anyone. It'll know more than any lawyer. It'll know more than any doctor. It'll know more than any financial strategist. It'll be better way better than us at those things.
And it can work 24/7.
24/7 doesn't switch off, right?
Correct. Yep.
So these two vectors are going to be taken away from us. And I reckon there's a potential existential crisis of meaning for folks in the workplace, right? Where people are going, what's my value? Where am I valuable? And I reckon...
If they've even got a job.
If they've even got a job.
Yeah.
And I reckon that they will be valuable in the human-to-human relational piece. This can't be replaced. You know, the three of us sitting around a table right now in the same physical space as each other, the biological coherence, the empathy, the connection, the rapport, the relationship, all this stuff can't be replaced. And I think it'll be even more valuable. So just the last thing I'll share on this bit with you is the example that I use. So if you're a GP doctor and all you do is diagnose and prescribe, that's all you do, you will be 100% out of a job because AI will diagnose and prescribe better than you. Your patient will walk in the door of your clinic through a scanner. By the time they get to your room, the AI has already got them completely pegged, right? And tell them what they need. But if you're a doctor who heals through relationship, like you actually give a shit about the person sitting in front of you, and more than that, you've been trained in how to breathe in time with them. Come into coherence with them is the word I'm using, right? Yeah. So that they trust you and they feel safe with you. And then you say, look, the AI has told us this. I just want to communicate that with you in a way that's going to resonate with you so that you get it. I reckon you'll be more valuable as a doctor in the future than you are today.
Yeah. Look, you take that to its most basic, and I'm glad you talked about this because I think it's a incredibly fascinating and somewhat scary topic, AI, and we do touch on it a bit, but we never really delve into it. And look, 6 months ago, I was dead against it. I'm not using AI. Fuck that. You know, it's going to destroy the world. We're going into Terminator country here, you know. Now I dabble in it because AI, I like to understand how it works and what it's capable of, but also it can do some really meaningless stuff, menial tasks, quickly, easily, and you can get on with other stuff.
And it's so all pervasive and powerful, isn't it? You can't avoid it if you do anything.
Not anymore.
Even if you don't switch it on yourself, it's affecting your life 100%.
You cannot ignore it because it's actually already in there.
100%. You go for a bank loan, it'll be the AI deciding, not a person.
Correct.
Exactly.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, aged care at the moment. They're talking the elves are what are keeping people out in the news in the last 24 hours.
It's going to start making decisions around whether we go to war or not. Governments are going to rely on. And look, this is an example of, and it's scary.
Yeah.
But we shouldn't head in the sand with it.
Yeah.
This is why I'm banging on about it. Certain aspects of AI are, as we know, we've heard this term exponential, are evolving exponentially. It's now teaching itself, right? But exponentially growing. And the example that I use, because our brains are not wired to comprehend exponential growth. We literally can't comprehend the doubling effect. We can comprehend linear growth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We can't comprehend 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, right? So I'll give you an example. Mate, if we went and stood out on your street here in Torquay, or let's just say we went up to the Surf Coast Highway and we face north, right?
Towards Geelong.
Up towards Geelong, Melbourne. And if I said to you, where do you reckon you'd be if you took 30 linear steps and let's say each step was stepped out a bit, it was a metre, so 30 metres. And you'd go, oh yeah, Jem, I reckon I'd be up there next to the cop station or whatever, right? You could guess. If I said to you, where would you be if you took 30 exponential metre steps? So the first step's a metre, the next one's 2, 4, and so on. Just 30 of them. Where do you reckon you'd go? Where would you end up?
Well, I reckon you'd be through the orchards at Templestowe. Put it that far.
Yes, you definitely would.
I reckon you would be.
You definitely would be. Where? Have a guess. Go on. Go more.
Mate, I'm going to guess because I know it's a lot further than I probably think. So I'm going to say Mildura.
Okay, you ready for this? 30.
Yeah.
Exponential meters, 27 laps of the planet, guys.
What? Really?
27 laps of the planet. Now, this is just an example of how our brains can't comprehend exponential growth. AI, not all of it, but certain aspects of AI are improving its ability. It's improving its abilities exponentially. We can't comprehend what it's going to look like in 10 years from now.
No, we can't comprehend what it's going to look like in 10 months, I don't think, really.
No, we can't. We really can't. And so my point is, what can't it replace? And even when it's got in robots and stuff like that, it can't replace the human-to-human shared felt experience.
And I've been sort of mulling on this question for a while now, and what I mean by that is the lack of customer service, right?
Yep.
So you go to a bank now, and once upon a time, people were going to the bank because they enjoyed talking to the bank teller.
Yep.
You go in now and you see older people
Yep.
who don't understand or like the technology.
Yep.
They don't have much of an outing. They go out, they go to talk to the person in the post office. They go, they don't do it to pay their bills or to get money out. They do it because they need some human connection.
Correct.
Right? My man lives in buttfuck West Queensland, right? And lives there on his own, has for a long time.
Yeah.
He goes out, he talks to the lady at the chemist, or he talks to the person at the hardware store.
Yeah.
So AI can't replace that.
No.
We may see that coming back.
Yeah, I hope we do.
Potentially those customer service roles that are purely just to talk to a human.
Correct. I really hope they do. So I was chatting with someone this morning, Japanese woman who emigrated to Australia. She lives here, and she was talking about with her kids, like she's worried for her kids that they won't learn patience and resilience and work ethic, and because they want everything instantly, right? These young kids, because they can get it straight away. Whereas when we were kids, you wanted to know the answer to something, and your dad said, "Go and look it up in the encyclopedia," and you look at an answer that was 20 years old in whatever, right?
The World Book or whatever.
The World Book, right? And so she was worried about this, and she was saying, "What do I teach my kids?" And I said to her, "You know, the number one thing I think we should be teaching our kids." Social intelligence, compassion, care, the ability to have a conversation with a person in real time. It's one thing that my boys are 22 and 20. They still live at the farm with me. And one of the things where I feel like a sigh of relief, I'm like, oh, thank God that landed, that stuck with them. Their social skills are beautiful, So when we have a guest come over to the house, they both get up out of their chair and go and greet the guest, even if they don't know who the guest is. Yeah. G'day, I'm Noah. How are you? What's your name? Yeah. Can I get you a cup of tea? They say. What do you do? Where do you? They make conversation. They don't just sit there and go, They actually make conversation with this person. Those skills are going to be invaluable. That's how we're going to be relevant in each other's lives. And we're social creatures. We need each other, right? And we've become so disconnected. Funnily, we talk about disconnecting, saying, I'm going to switch my phone off, I'm going to disconnect. Yeah. The phone's the thing that bloody disconnected you in the first place.
That's
right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of, it's going to be fascinating. And it is scary. You think about hospitality industry, and I see the decline in hospitality, and you go into pubs now, they don't want you to interact with the staff. You can't sit at the bar. I mean, we talk about this a bit. Yeah. Old school pubs where, we've grown up drinking at, and our parents, and your parents were publicans, Brian, and now you can't sit at the bar. Your
publican was your counsellor, your best mate, the town gossip. They knew what everyone was up to,
And they stood behind the bar, and you bought your drinks from them at the bar, and you looked it in the face, and you talked. They asked how many sheep you shore, or they asked how your day's been, or sorry to hear about your missus, they're bringing something around. It was that face-to-face communication.
And then you sit at the table and you order from a QR code. Your table.
Thanks. And the buzzer goes off, here, go and get it yourself. It's amazing, isn't it? You think about it.
Well, hopefully that'll change.
Hopefully that's something where people who are suddenly so disconnected from human contact then demand that to come back, and then hopefully the industry then responds to that and brings that role back. Sales is another role. You mentioned about being able to connect to people and understand them and that kind of thing. AI can't do that.
No.
So if you're trying to ask someone to sell their house for them and they grow up, their whole family, they raise their children there, and the husband's died, and you can't. A robot can't.
No.
Create that that connection with someone to.
Mate, I went into a cafe up in Melbourne the other day to get a coffee, and there was a line out the door. I thought, I'm going to line up for this coffee because everyone else is. I want to see why are people lining up here when there's 100 places you can get a coffee from.
We did a Vietnamese restaurant in Brunswick the other
day. Right. So I lined up and I went in, and the guy who was running the cafe, Aussie Asian guy, everybody by name.
Yeah.
Morning, Paul. Yeah. Morning, Mary.
Yeah.
G'day, Sally. Yeah. Everyone by name. He came up, he said, what's your name? I said, Jem. Jem, your coffee's ready. Yeah. Now, the coffee was good coffee, but you can get good coffee anywhere. And I said to him, mate, I love looking at service, good customer service. You're you're doing really well, obviously. You've got a line out the door. He said, the line is 24/7. From the moment we open to close, there's a line. And I said, why is that? I knew what he was going to say. And he said, one thing, I know everyone's name. That was it.
Yeah. It's not an easy skill to have either.
No.
Remembering people's names.
But he practices
Yeah,
it.
he practices it.
Yeah,
You know?
He'd have trips. He'd have tricks to help him do it.
That's right.
Yeah, because that's the one thing he understood. What makes it
Yeah.
successful? Yeah.
And many of those experiences, well, for me anyway, I'm going out for the service. I can cook, you know.
Yeah.
I love to cook, and I can cook.
Yeah.
I can cook really well, and I can do stuff at home, no problem. But when I go out, I can forgive food that's not quite to my taste, but I cannot forgive
service,
bad service. Like I just cannot.
Yeah.
You go out for that service, that intimate, personal attention. That's where the buzz is. You pay for that. Don't worry about the food. Food's easily done. Neither here nor there. Get a bad luck, bad bit of meat. Don't care. You know that's okay. That can
that's
happen.
right.
But never, poor service. And we've. My wife and I have been living in Geelong about 4 years now. We moved down here. We retired and moved down here. Jem about 4 years ago. I went to the Telegraph Hotel. Up the other end of Packington Street.
In West Geelong, yeah. North Geelong?
North
on
Geelong.
the border.
Yeah.
Yep.
With a mate of mine who lives in Geelong, said they got oysters for $1.
Yeah.
Bluey, we call each other Bluey. Oysters for $1, Bluey, Thursday night. Let's go down, we'll have a dozen. Yeah, right, and a couple of pots, righto. So we thought, well, we'll take our ladies with us and we'll make a little foursome of it and go and have dinner. And we'll start with a dozen oysters each, $1 each. So this will be fun. Well, we booked. Bluey said, they'll be busy, we've got to book and go early. Yeah, righto. So we do all of that. So we get there and we walk in, park in the car park, walk up the steps into thing, and we were met before we'd even almost got inside the hotel, almost like a little foyer thing outside the hotel.
Yep.
Said, you've got a booking, check the book, yep. Come with us, like restaurant, really. Like
a maitre d'.
Oh, yeah, best restaurant service. Taken to our table. We ate, we drank, had a good time. We're up and gone early. When we got to leave, one of the young fellows from behind the bar and the woman who served us at the table walked us out and said goodnight to us out in the car park when we went to our car. Now, I've never forgotten that. I'd go back there just for that.
Well, and you're telling the story now.
Oh, yeah, I know. There you go. You go back there for that. That was just magnificent. Great service. And that's what you go for. Genuine, you've been in hospitality, you've worked in it a lot, Scott. That's what makes a difference. That's why people go back.
Yep.
And call me mad, but that's why they go out in the first place. It's not rocket science. They're there because they want to be treated like a human being and have a human interaction, I think.
Well, hopefully, like we've been saying, hopefully that swings back around again, because people will have choice. It's, if we will get to the point where AI is doing most of the stuff that we used to do and I mean, this is crazy. We're living in the world of the Jetsons already. There's flying drone stuff you can get in and zoom around in all over the place now anyway. But anyway, so when we've got robots, doing this and doing that and kind of walking around, I mean, if Elon Musk has his way, there's going to be a billion robots in the next 10 years, he reckons anyway.
And if Elon Musk has his way, we'll all be jacked into the mainframe.
Yeah, right. We'll all be, So this is going on, and this is what I say to my clients as well now on a much smaller scale. If you've got this time given back to you, rather than filling it with more to-do stuff, how about you go and spend some of that time with the relationships you've been complaining you don't have time for? I'd spend more time I'd take my missus out more if I had more time. Well, you're going to have the time. Or I'd spend more time with my kids if I have more you're going to have the time. I'd spend more time with my mates you're going to have more time. So if we're clever about it, maybe we can actually use our time wisely back into relationship, back into going out for a meal with some mates where the service is good again.
I value time. Much higher value time than putting extra time in at work to earn a few extra bucks.
That's right.
I'm going to tell a quick little story, right? We're getting a little bit off topic, so we'll get back to Jem in a minute.
So topic, remember?
So talking about relationships and kids and families and whatever. This morning, Ange and I were having a coffee, whatever, at our favourite restaurant, cafe, in Torquay, and out the front, there's a little play area. There's like kind of little playgroundy area, and so we were sitting there and we look around and a young couple walk up. They've got a couple of young kids and they sit down and they both pull out their phones and they're both looking at their phones. And the one kid, I didn't even know there was a second kid. So one kid's sitting kind of away from them, just staring off into space. Next minute we hear this car horn and I thought, oh shit, they've let their dog go out on the road. No, it was the kid. It was the other kid. Jesus. So this car nearly hit this kid, right? So
how old's the kid? Little.
Toddler.
18 months, whatever. I was shocked. I thought it was the dog. I assumed that it was their dog. Anyway.
Wow.
So Ange could not say anything. She said, like, she just started yelling at him and said, no, you should not be sitting on your phones doing that, because she'd already commented.
Yeah.
You know, we'd already noticed it. And anyway, this bloke, a young bloke, tradie sort of young bloke, got his back up and got shitty. He was obviously embarrassed and just started having to go back at us. So it got pretty heated, and it got like toe to toe.
Did you get up? Did you, mate?
Oh yeah, well yeah. He was coming out. He was coming for us. And
right.
Anyway, so it was just like that. That whole, you know, you see it all the time, but that was you see parents just sitting on their phones all the time.
Yeah,
parents and kids, and then, but that just to not even notice that your kids just wandered off onto the road. By the side of the road. It's that whole that's the key. That's the number one relation, isn't it? Yeah, that's with their kids.
Yeah, and safety, child safety. You know,
we're putting aside for our phones.
But all of us would have as number one. In that scenario.
Yeah.
Not catching up on social media stuff.
I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and the guy being interviewed was talking about this and how addicted we've all become to these devices, some more than others. The average in America, the average person looks at their phone 200 times a day. So they switch their phone, like they go and turn it on 200 times a day. And he's talking about the mental health decline because we don't allow our minds time to just sit and be bored, just to wander, just stare out the window and let your mind just wander. Because when you do that, when you sit there and just let it wander, it's sorting stuff out. It's like we get a whole bunch of input, and then it's just kind of sorting stuff to help our mental health, to help us put things into place. Think about it when you go to the supermarket and you're queuing up to go up to the cashier. I like going up to a person. I don't like going through the self-checkout because I want to say good day to them and say hi and how you going and stuff. And when you're in the line and you have to wait more than a few minutes, notice that your hand goes to reach for your phone. And I purposefully don't. I just stand there, and then the next person comes up and I say, "G'day." You know.
I miss it. I mean, I have the phone for work. It's a work tool, but I do the same thing. And so I've deleted Facebook app, and I've deleted, and I'll put the Instagram up on the last page. You know what I mean? So it's not just sitting there. But I still find myself going, oh, well, I'll look at this. You know, you're looking for something to distract yourself to, you know?
Yeah, that's right.
I'll go to the news app, or I'll go to the bloody some other app that I'm not even interested in. But you know, it just becomes automatically. You go, hang on a minute, stop the bloody thing in another room, or you know, leave it in the car. Like I won't take it when I go for a swim or a walk. So because I'm like, I see people walking down the beach looking at their phone. I'm like, dude, you realise what you're missing out on?
Look where we live.
Across. You know? Anyway, so...
We said we're probably going to speak travel, because I think Jem's got some travel experience too, professionally, and doing some stuff travel, so we'll come to that. But now my wife and I retired, we travel a lot. We've always loved travel anyway, but we're travelling more now. But sometimes... we'll just observe when we're travelling, you know, with a group or others, as how focused people are on taking photographs. And sometimes you say, just put your phone down, man. Put your phone down, put it in your pocket.
Or you go to a concert and everyone's got their phones up. They're looking, they're not looking at the concert.
Don't worry.
They're filming the concert that they're at.
What they're going to put on Instagram.
Like, don't worry about it. Like, just go photo. You can buy a fucking postcard when you get home. Remember, don't worry about it. Enjoy the moment. Soak it up. Smell it. Feel it. You know, look at the other people that are here. Don't worry about getting a photo of the Taj Mahal, you know, which is like, here you are. But when you're at the Taj Mahal, man, you got to put your phone down and just feel the bloody thing around you.
There's a book called Stolen Focus by a guy called Johann Hari.
That's a clever title.
Yep. And there's a classic story in there. He's in Graceland, like the Graceland. And he's in the room, like he's in one of the rooms, and then in the room are these different Elvis artifacts. And there's an Elvis, I mean, you just say it's an old record player or something. And there's this couple in there, and they've got the device in front of them that's the virtual room on the device, and and you can move the device around, and it tells you what the virtual tour. And they're looking at their phone, pointing at the phone.
They're looking at the actual...
And they're going, look, it's the record player, it's the record player. And he's standing there going, it's right fucking there. It's the actual thing is right there. And they're standing next to the actual thing, looking at it through the virtual thing.
God.
There's an absolute fantastic loony cartoon, which I'm not sure, you're a bit younger than me. You guys might know Looney, but you might not remember his cartoons as well as I do. One of my favourite Looney cartoons is a father and son sitting inside with a television, And the dad's sort of got his hand on his little boy, and the little boy's pointing at it, and his dad's pointing at it, and it's a sunset on TV.
On the TV.
And in the side window,
There's
the fucking sun going down at the window.
Yeah.
Well,
This is lunatic. Probably 30 years ago.
Ahead of his time.
30 years ago.
Head of his
That
time.
was a comment on television.
But
Yeah.
that was what our parents were worried about.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, it
my
was of
parents,
TV.
With TV.
maybe, Too much TV.
We're only allowed half an hour a day. We're allowed.
Yeah, that's
Mine
right.
was
Square
square
eyes.
as
That's
well.
right. Square eyes. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, your eyes will go square if you watch too much
Amazing.
TV.
Yeah.
And now look where we're at.
So it's interesting, isn't it? Because it's an evolution of the same theme.
Yeah.
Really, it is the increasing and all-pervasive power and influence of technology, and as you say, it's going to grow even more exponentially. What is left? And I think you're right, Jem. I was just thinking. In fact, as you were speaking, I was thinking a little about what's happening in the politics in the world at the moment, and the sort of collapse of if you like, democracy as it was envisaged originally, and as we were Western democracy as it's been operating, and now all around the world, what it's looking like, and why is it looking like that? Yeah. Well, I think technology is part of the reason, and the antidote to it is what you're talking about: is letting technology look after what it can do, and then go back and influence and use relationship approaches to do in your own life. Yeah. So, the emergence of independence, for example, right? So big parties, they can do all the numbers and all that sort of stuff. The big major parties, that's why they're on the decline, I think, because people are starting to listen and be more concerned about what they can do in their local environment.
Community.
The Spring Creek Valley and stuff. So people are coming together and dealing with stuff. And I think we might see more and more of that more micro-leveled interaction, which would be great, more human interaction in the landscape into the future. And many of those other more mundane sort of tasks you're talking about being, let the technology do that, but let's hang together in a more organic human form.
So
into the future, maybe.
Other than putting the phone down, what can people do, Jem? I mean, what do you help people do, or to what changes do you help people make in their life, in their way of thinking, to get back into a more natural state of being, I suppose?
So my clients that I work one-to-one with, part of my prescription. They pretty much have to do this in some way, shape or form. Otherwise, we're not going to keep working together. Yeah. There has to be a habitual practice of some contemplative practice. So whether it's a meditation practice or a mindfulness practice, or just even a couple of minutes of just breathing practice, just slowing your breathing down. It can be something that basic. So there's got to be some sort of meditative practice, nature therapy. Just get in nature. Now, for us living down here in Torquay, most people down here are pretty nature savvy. We're down the beach, we're in the ocean, we're riding our mountain bikes around, so we're pretty good down here.
That's why they're here, many of them.
And that's why we're
putting a lick into it.
Of course. That's why we
love it.
Although, having said that, there's a demographic in our population that we don't see, and it's endemic in young males as well, who are more introvert, and they get stuck at home gaming, and they go into a world of depression, and we don't even hear about it because we don't see them. But they're here in Torquay. That's a whole other subject that we can go into.
Because they don't leave the house, do they?
They don't leave the house, So, but back to your question, Scott. So meditation, nature, and relationships. And exercise. So my clients, they need to exercise in some way, shape or form. That can be just going for a walk. Or a surf or a swim or whatever it is, get to the gym. Spend time with people that matter to you. Now, if you're more introvert, you might only have 2 or 3 people that matter to you. That's fine. Spend some time with them.
Spend some more time with them.
Spend more time with them. And if you're an extrovert, then go out to the pub and see 20 of your mates all at once. But spend time in those relationships where you put the phone down, and you're just actually talking with each other. These are the kind of things that I try and get people to do.
And so let's talk about that sort of meditation side of things, because it is something we've talked about here a little bit, and it's something that I'm interested in. My wife has tried to get me to do meditation. My daughter tried to get me to do meditation for a very long time, and I just can't get my head around it because you try to quieten your mind, as I thought that meditation was.
Yep.
And you're already shaking your head. So
not this mind. I'm not going to quiet that mind. That's the problem.
And it's going a million miles an hour within 5 seconds. Yeah. And then so it just took one person, Peter. I don't know if you know Peter Haxel. He's a Chinese herbalist and acupuncturist down.
Yep.
A good dude, and you and him would have some very common ways of thinking.
He's at Aries, isn't he? Anglesey. Anglesey. Yeah.
Anyway, so he put in a very simple way that it's not about quieting your mind. It's just about coming back to realization that your mind's wandered. Coming back to a center, I suppose.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be for 20 minutes or an hour.
No.
It can just be for a minute. It can be for 30 seconds. It's just about being able to say, hang on a minute, just come back to a central place.
Yep.
Focus on maybe your breathing for a little moment.
Yep.
And then seeing, allowing whatever needs to come in.
Yes, that's true. Look, if we start with why.
Yep.
Why would you want to spend a couple of minutes a day doing a meditation practice?
Yep.
Or even better, 5 or 10 minutes a day? Why would you want to do that? Because over the long term, in the short term, the benefit is that you're activating the parasympathetic nervous system. So when you feel calm, you're going from feeling sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight or flight, which most of us spend most of our day in that, right, unnecessarily. But it's just basically coming to a place of calm. Now that's nice, and you go, oh, that's nice, I can calm myself down. But over the long term, what you're training your brain to be able to do is to be able to focus and just observe whatever. Like you said, you can observe the breath. You can observe your thoughts. By the way, you don't have an especially busy brain. We've all got busy brains. The synapses and the neurons over the synapses are firing all the time for all of us. There's always that commentary going on. Yeah. It's not about not having the commentary. It's about you can notice the commentary rather than being immersed in it. So rather than being carried away with the thinking, you can actually just notice it. Yeah. And you do get better at it. Meditation teachers will say you're not striving to get better at anything, but you do get better at it over time. And so what happens is that as you get better at just noticing the moment, you are less reactionary and driven by the moment. You go to a place of observation, and what happens then is that whatever you're experiencing, whether it's anger or frustration or happiness or joy or, a looping thought or, whatever it is that you're experiencing, when you observe it, it passes more quickly. You actually become the driver of your own bus. You get to decide what physiological, mental, emotional, physical state of being you want to be in, right? Now, if you're someone that needs to stand up on stage and deliver a speech and you're doing the normal human thing of being nervous before you get up and your mouth's a bit dry and you're a bit shaky, to be able to change your physiology and become calm and centered. If you're a parent and you've got to have a chat with your teenager who's just done something really, really stupid and you're really emotional about it. Maybe even you're angry, but you need to go in and have some consequences with your child rather than going into the room angry.
Saying something you regret.
That you can actually, before you go into the room, you can change your state because you've been practicing meditation. You can calm yourself. Come to a place of equanimity, which is not reacting to reactions, and go into the room calmly and sit down and say, hey, we need to have a talk. You just get better results in everything that you do when you come from this equanimous place. So it actually becomes a bit of a superpower. If you're to put it in the work context, when I'm working with C-suite, if you're going into a negotiation and you've got to fight it out with this competitor or this supplier or whoever it is, stakeholder or whatever, you go into that, I tell you, the calmest person in the room will win. So if you're thinking about it in that lens, through that lens, you want to be the calmest person in the room, and you can train your brain to do it.
It's interesting because when I talk to people about sales, the first thing I tell them is listen more than you speak, and I think being calm helps you do that because
100%.
I know from early days, but also from watching other people who aren't very good at it, they just blurt. They just go for it, and it's a nervous thing. Just talking, not even observing what the other person's doing. The other person's thinking, how the fuck do I get away from this person, you know? Or you end up being that salesperson that walks in and they go, oh, not him again, you know? And I know those people. So, and I think that's the inability to kind of calm yourself before you walk into that meeting, you know?
So the reason why is that you actually become the driver of your own, but at least better at becoming the driver of your own bus. Right? More aware. That's the reason why. And the what is it? A mindfulness meditation practice, like we spoke about just a sec ago, it's very simply just noticing what you can notice in the present moment. And when you get distracted and you start thinking about, oh shit, I've got to go and get some more chicken for dinner tonight, or whatever it is you get distracted with, when you remember, oh, that's right, I'm doing a meditation practice, I'm going to come back and focus on my breath. The minute you remember that you're distracted, you're present again. And when you bring your attention back to whatever it is you're focusing on, to say your breath, that's the bicep curl.
Right.
That's the workout bit. Now, we get healthy body, healthy mind. We'll go to the gym and work out because we want stronger biceps, right? A stronger body. But we know healthy mind is good, but we don't do the training for it. But when you think about it, your whole experience of everything is in your mind, right? Everything you see, that light is coming through the pupils, going through the nerves to the back of your brain, digital. And then it's getting represented as a hologram inside your mind. Everything you hear right now, listening to us talk, sound waves through the ears, eardrums, digital response into your brain, and then it creates. So everything you touch, feel, everything that tells you that you're alive in an environment is existing in your mind. The quality of your mind matters. Right? If you're in a shit mode, you've just had a terrible phone call, like something terrible's happened. You walk out into the day and it's raining and cold and everything goes wrong, you know, and you're like, oh, fucking rain, of course, buddy. When it rains, it pours, and then you slam your finger in the door.
I knew this was going to happen.
Right, and it gets worse and worse and worse. The day goes from bad to worse. But same day outside, but you get a different phone call. Like friends of yours who have been trying to get pregnant for years and they're 15 weeks pregnant, they've just called you and you're like, you beauty, yes, you know, and you walk out. It's the same day outside, but you're in a different state of mind. You
don't notice the rain.
You're in the rain, singing in the rain, you know, like the veggie garden's getting some water. This is great. You know, you get in the car and you go into the petrol station and you say good day to that person. You make them feel good. It's a ripple effect. They feel better. They're nice to the next customer and so on. And your day goes, wow, what a wonderful day. The day's exactly the same. The only thing that was different was the quality of your mind. So the quality of your mind matters. Why would you not want to curate and develop the ability to have something more to say about the quality of your mind on a day-to-day basis? You know, you want to live a good life, right? So it starts with creating the quality of your mind, and you can do that through meditation.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And how does that relate to communication? Because obviously, I mean, communicating is something you talk a lot about. I know that, and communication is, I guess, can be about how my mind might interact with your mind, or with Brian's mind, or with a room full of people's minds. So I'm guessing that's all kind of related.
Yeah,
being 100%. Able to clarify, keep the mind healthy, clear, in order to be able to sort of communicate what we want to be able to do with the outside world.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. So communication. When communication's working, it's when people come to an understanding. Right? You don't have to agree. We can disagree, but I can understand you. I can understand where you're coming from and still disagree with you, or we can understand each other and come to an agreement. Right? But the definition of the word communication is it's a sharing. We share something and we come to an understanding. If I've got an incredibly busy mind, right? Just say I've got a lot of stuff going on, and maybe I've got a lot of hang-ups from the past, and I've got a lot of attachment to stuff, and my mind is chaotic and not clear. When I'm sitting with you and I'm perceiving you, quote unquote, perceiving you, so I can see you, I can hear you, you're using words, you're using tonality, there's body language, I'm perceiving you. But if I have to perceive you through a whole bunch of my own stuff, I get a very distorted version of you. I get a Jem version of you, which we all get, but I get a very distorted version of you because of my stuff. The more clear my mind is, the more I can see you.
As you.
Yeah. So the better chance I've got of actually understanding you, the less static is going on inside my head. So that's how it comes into communication.
Right.
You know, we have these unconscious biases lodged in our brains, in our minds from the past already anyway. So for example, right, just say you and I met at BNI.
Yep.
Right? So we both know networking.
Yep.
Just say we went to a networking event. We didn't know anyone in the room. We both go in and a woman comes up and says hi, and we meet her and everything, and then we have a quick chat, and then she walks off. Mm-hmm. And I said to you, Scott, you know, what was your take on her?
Yeah.
And you say to me, oh, good. Yeah, no, I think she's a good woman. I say, what does your gut tell you? And you say, yeah, good. I think she's good. And I say, oh, that's funny. My gut tells me, nah, don't trust her.
Right.
Right. Same woman.
Yeah.
Your take on her is different to mine. Why? It could be she was wearing a perfume that an abusive auntie of mine used to wear when I was 5 years old, and I've completely forgotten about it.
Yeah.
But the smell made me unconsciously go, something I don't trust here. I didn't even know the perfume. I don't remember it consciously, but unconsciously I don't trust her. Now, that doesn't mean she's untrustworthy. That means my lenses, my biases are giving me that prediction, right? So that's just to show you that our past flavors our present moment, and the more unresolved you are with the past, the more distorted the present moment is for you, you know? So to come back to that meditation, which is a cleaning and a clearing of the mind, you can come into communication better.
Yeah, and I think it's an important thing that we talk about on a blokes podcast, right? Because a lot of blokes would see it as I saw it probably only 2 years ago, you know, the meditations, you know, as a hippie. I mean,
hippie thing.
And I'm probably more hippie than a lot of blokes, you know, but that you know, it's the sitting cross-legged and buddy, you know, doing OMS and clearing your mind for half an hour or an hour a day, and it seems impossible.
Yeah.
You know, it seems
it's impossible if you think that you're trying to have a clear mind. It's impossible.
Yeah.
And then you go, I can't do this.
Yeah, chuck it out.
So that's really important to restate that. We said it already, but just to restate that. Yep. You're not trying to have no thoughts.
Yep.
You're just being present with them. You can actually just notice your thoughts come and go. Just notice them without attaching to them. Let them appear, let them morph and change from one thought to the next, to the next, to the next, and just notice it. Right? That's all it is. Super powerful. You know, if you really care about being the most effective version of you, and this is what blokes get and then lean into, because I'm generalizing now, but it's a masculine energy to want to be the best you can be, to want to develop, to want to achieve a goal.
Yep.
So if you're into self-performance at all, start meditating, because you just your performance improves.
And you hear that from all levels of people: sports people, business people, academics, you know, artists.
100%.
They kind of all say it, don't they?
100%.
Yeah,
it's true.
Well, it's interesting. I've got a lifelong friend, a fellow I've known since we started primary school together, and we went to secondary school and university together, and when we're still mates, we live around the corner from each other now, still spend time together. Scott's had the opportunity to meet Bluey in recent times.
This is Bluey, who you mentioned earlier?
Bluey, who I mentioned earlier,
correct.
And Bluey, who we had a few beers with Alan at the pub. Bluey told me only in the last 12 months probably that he meditates every day, and has been since he was a university student.
Yeah. Really?
A student,
Yeah, right.
every day.
Now, Blue is not, having met him.
He's no hippie.
Briefly,
No.
He's not somebody I'd expect
He's a sporty,
meditative.
blokey bloke. There you go.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to have a bit, next time I see him, which will be day after tomorrow, going for a walk with him actually, which is a perfect time.
Yep.
Him and his wife and my wife, the four of us going along. I'm going to have a talk to him about that.
Yeah.
What he does,
See what
and what works, and just explore it a bit with him and see, because
that's great.
He's an electrical engineer, you know, and he's been in really high, powerful jobs. He's retired now, but he's a guy who's got a maths brain, you know, great sportsman. Not the sort of guy you'd ever put any of this sort of softy-feely stuff around, soft skill stuff around. And there you go. He just told me just the other day he's been doing it. So it's interesting. And the other observation I was going to make, I was interested in listening to you speak before about it's the calm person that wins. I was reflecting on one of the things I did in my life for quite a period of time. I chaired a regulator. I chaired a board, which is a regulator, and I'd often be in situations with either key stakeholders or customers of the organisation, or really people who had a point to make or a concern in public meetings. And it's interesting. I'd listen much more than anything else. These people were really coming to me to talk about our role and what they thought of it different times. Didn't happen a lot, but happened often enough. And I'd be, listening mode, doing my best to listen. And I can tell you the ranting and raving and banging on the table guys got fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
Ever. When on reflection, when I think now, none of that worked on me.
Yeah.
And the people who had most influence were the calm people, and there were extremes on either side of this debate, and that the real extremes weren't the ones. It was the balanced people who just wanted you to understand, I think. They didn't want to win. They wanted you to understand their point of view on the matter.
Yeah.
And I wanted them to understand mine. They were the winners, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
They were the people who were most likely to have an influence over me going back to my authority and going, listen, guys, I think there's some stuff here we need to explore.
Yeah.
Not people just banging and crashing and doing the rubbish.
Yeah,
really interesting. Just on retrospect, I'm just commenting on that. My
Similar to
observation.
the salesperson that walks in and just all they do is talk about themselves and their product and what they're trying to sell. They don't actually stop and try and understand what the customer is looking to and how they can make that connection. Yeah.
Emotion has a really important part to play for us humans. We wouldn't have emotions if they weren't a part of us and necessary. And so, for example, let's take anger, which is, an emotion that most blokes can relate to, humans in general, but generally speaking, culturally, we could go into the reasons why this is, but a lot of men in Australia, say, have a limited range of emotions. They don't go into the nuance of the whole spectrum of emotions. They're kind of calm, super excited, when their footy team wins, or really fucking angry, right? That's it. And so anger has a place. For example, if I'm out with my kids and someone comes up and threatens one of my kids and my kid's in danger and I go from 0 to 100 angry and I go up in that moment, it doesn't serve me to be calm in that moment. It serves to be angry. Back off my fucking kids now, right? So that's when anger serves a purpose. But if you're wanting to be understood, if you want the person to actually understand you, being emotional in the moment will always decrease your ability to be understood. The emotion, if you're really, really sad or really angry or really whatever it is, and all you want them to see is that you're in that emotional state, be emotional. And it serves a purpose, like I've said. But if you're wanting to be understood, the calmer you are, literally, biologically, your brain is more able to communicate in a clear way. When you're emotional, you trip over your words, you say things you don't mean, it gets all like this and you don't get understood, and then you're in a fight again with your partner or whatever, right? So, the ability to calm yourself is invaluable.
I think about that situation this morning, and both of us, both me and the father of this kid, got angry. And it started with him getting angry because he felt, I think, embarrassed, right? And obviously a little bit scared maybe, but certainly embarrassed that he got called out that had happened. And that turned into anger, which then I just fed off and it was like, well, no, you now back off, you know what I mean? So it was, I think that, and then it's like, all right, who's the one that's going to be the calm one first, And I did walk away in the end, but if you got a moment to go, okay, all right, and that, the situation this morning for him is just going to escalate. I don't think his wife would have been very happy about how he reacted, after what happened and that kind of thing. So
there's a reason we say that you lose your shit. You don't win your shit. You lose your shit.
Correct. And if he had just been able to reflect, okay, yep, we did a bad thing. We got called out. I'm a bit embarrassed about it, but, let's not just start abusing the people who called us out. And the whole thing just doesn't even happen, But yeah. Anyway, let's jump into some travel.
Yeah, sure.
I know we've obviously already touched on it. It's another great passion of yours, and in particular, I think from doing some research, India is a big connection for you, right?
India, I love it.
Massive connection. Second home, I think you call it.
Second home, I call it. Yeah, you either love it or you hate it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah,
it's India. It's a massive country. It's like 200 countries on a continent. You go from literally from one state to the next state, and it's not just a different accent, it's a completely different language. Completely different. Not a dialect, completely different language. I think
a lot of people understand that.
There's 250 completely different languages in India. And unless someone's educated and they speak a bit of Hindi or English, they don't understand each other. India is actually someone said this to me, an Indian mate of mine said this to me the other day, actually. It's a really interesting experiment on how would you get the world, say, to all get along and be under one kind of agreed system. India, you've got 250 different languages, 250 different cultural groups, different religions, different food, different everything under one governmental system.
Democracy.
A democracy.
As well.
Yep.
I mean, not an easy system for it.
Yeah, and look, there's been a whole bunch of corruption and also it's not a perfect place, but it's a place that works.
Yep.
So anyway, that's an interesting thing. But India for me has been, I've just loved it since I first went there in 93 or 4 or something like that.
Yep.
And then specifically, not so much India because of it being India, but there's a village in the Himalayan mountains in northwest India, up on the border of Tibet, and there's a family in a temple in the forest above this village. And I met this family in 1998.
Yep.
And we just fell in love with each other, and they essentially, for all intents and purposes, adopted me.
So did you just kind of wander in there? You were just, how did you come across this family?
So I was, like I said, I spent years wandering around, dreadlocks and bearded and smoking weed and playing my guitar and, contemplating life and just not wanting to play the game, the normal game. Yeah. I was down south, living on a beach, like literally living outdoors, cooking on a fire and basically camping, but not for a holiday. This was me just living my life, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And this old English hippie, old John, he walked onto my beach one day and he was in his 60s.
Your beach, I like that.
Yeah.
My beach.
I was there for a couple of months, so I had it to myself.
You're like Robinson Crusoe. It's your island, your beach.
It was my beach. My little cove, right?
Yeah.
No one knew it was there.
Yeah, wow.
So it was only once every few days someone might stumble across this little cove where I was living. He knew it was there and he walked down onto the beach and I stood up out of the jungle where my little home was and I said, g'day. He's like, oh, hello, mate, and he came over and I said, you want a cup of tea? And he pulled out some weed and I made him a cup of tea and we got stoned and drank tea together and we did that every day for a couple of weeks or something. Anyway, when we were going our separate ways, he said to me, oh, mate, look, if you're ever up in the Himalaya, if you're ever up there, this is me gaff, right? This is where I live. I've been up there since the 60s, mate. Been 30 years living up there. It's fucking beautiful, mate. You got to come up there, right? I said, all right. And I wrote down in the back of my journal, Old John, Krishna Temple, which is what he told me, Naga, which is the name of the village, Naga. 6 months later, I'm on a public bus bouncing up this old dirt road in the Himalayan mountains and I had my Lonely Planet travel guide book. And I looked on a map and I saw on the other side of the river, I saw this village called Naga and I'm like, Naga, that rings a bell. What's that? I went to my journal, I looked in the back and said, sure enough, Old John, Krishna Temple, Naga. So I got off the bus and I hitchhiked over to the other side of the river and I put my bag somewhere in a room somewhere and I started walking through this village, which is on the side of a mountain. And I'm going up to people and saying, Krishna Temple, where's the Krishna Temple? And they all kept pointing up, going, up it like this. So I kept walking up through the village and they're all pointing up. I get to the top of the village and there's forest and they're still pointing up. I'm like, what? This old lady came up to me and she was hobbling along. She had this big, massive stack of dried grass on her back, bigger than her. And she was walking along with this grass. And I said to her, where's the Krishna Temple, And she points to this little track in the forest. I'm like, okay, here we go. So I start walking up this forest. It's getting to, dusk, like the sun's going down. It's getting dark. I'm walking for half an hour, walking for 40 minutes. I'm going, where's this bloody temple? And then I come to this clearing and there's this old temple and an old house and a cow shed. And this 16-year-old village girl comes out from the cow shed with 2 pails of milk. She's just milked the cow. She comes out, namaste, she says. And I said, namaste. And I said, John Idahe, is John here? I said in Hindi. And she goes, Hanji, yes, sir. And she calls out, she goes, John, like this. Yeah. And old John comes hobbling out from the downstairs of this old house and he comes hobbling out in the dusk, stoned and, and he'd be squinting with his eyes. He goes, hello. And I said, John, it's Jem, Aussie mate from down south. He goes, oh, hello, mate. Come inside. I'll put the kettle on. And he goes, it's getting on, mate. You may as well stay the night. Here, I've got a mattress. You stay the night and you get your bags tomorrow. I stayed 3 months.
Yeah, wow.
That's when I first fell in love with the family. Went on a visa run over to Pakistan and Bangladesh and Tibet, came back, stayed there for another few months, and that was in 1998, and I've been part of the family ever since and going backwards and forwards.
So when you say the family, Jem, he had family there?
No, he was the same like me. He was a foreigner who had been adopted by this
a family.
Himalayan family,
Right. Yeah, okay.
who was the Holy Family. They're still my family to this day.
Yeah, okay.
And now to kind of wrap around the whole story and bring it up to this present day, they gifted me and Talia some land just before COVID, thinking we'd build our own place on it. I didn't ever think to do that. I thought to build a non-profit meditation retreat centre, and the funds that we channeled through it would go to continue providing education for kids in the villages. So we sponsor a few kids up in the villages there. Anyway, this is all happening now, and so it's called the Centre of Love. Yep. We've found our investors. We're building a high-end meditation retreat centre, and it's going to be a commercial business, but the profits that we make from it are going to go to helping the kids. Yep. And it's part of a global re-education project where we're having these Centre of Love education sanctuaries built into consciousness centres, high-end retreat centres around the world, which is all happening. And so there's this whole big project that's come into this global re-education of senior leaders project happening from that land that I first went to in that story that I just told you.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you called them Holy Family. Was that their kind of how they were perceived locally?
Yeah. They're the Holy Family. So for them, it's Hinduism.
Yep.
They're Hindus.
Yep.
They're kind of more than Hindu for me. They're very spiritual. They're not dogmatic at all. They know that I'm not religious. Yep. They know I grew up in a Christian family, but they know that I'm not religious at all.
Yep.
And they just don't mind.
Yep.
They just really don't mind. They don't mind what you believe in or anything. Everyone's welcome. Yep. But they're Hindus, and it's a Krishna temple.
What do you think they saw in you and John, obviously to take you in as part of their family and with no expectations, with no sort of like, right, you've got to be out by this time, or you've got to do this, or you've got to marry someone, or, there was no deadlines, no expectations, just come and be part of our family.
Yeah. Look, I think it was Papu's dad, who we called father, who died recently. He died 3 months ago. Right. And Papu is essentially my brother. His dad was open-minded.
Yeah.
He was just open-minded, and he was open-minded to John.
Yeah.
And so Papu had grown up watching his dad be open-minded to this English guy.
Yeah.
And so Papu then, next generation down, was open-minded to me.
Yeah.
And he was just really curious. He'd been educated at university, so he spoke English, enough English for us to connect and be able to communicate.
Yeah.
And we'd just go trekking together. We'd just go walking off into the Himalayas together and talking about life. And he's always just been really curious. He doesn't want to live anywhere else. He doesn't want to move to Australia. I can't even get him a visa to come to Australia because the Australian government. Anyway, I might go into that, but he's happy where he is. But he was just really
still curious about the world and the people.
Curious,
yeah. I guess he's living in a very isolated part of the world, and to see these kind of wanderers come in from unimaginable parts of the world, really, like Australia, no media, no TV, no nothing like that. They're just like, to try and
they've got phones. They've got
they do now,
smartphones now.
Yeah.
So they can see the big wide world now.
Yep.
Through their devices.
Yeah.
But they're happy.
Yeah.
With not much. They're poor and happy.
Yep.
It's a beautiful belief system, isn't it? Hinduism seems to me. I've only been to India once.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it. Just loved it. Just a fascinating place. Really somewhere, I think, where if anyone who had the opportunity who likes travel, you must, while you're on it, just go once.
I reckon.
Just to see it and smell it and hear it and look at the
Come with us.
vibrant
Talia and I run trips over there, so you don't even have to worry about how to figure it out. We've got it all figured out for you. We'll hold your hand and show you all the wonders. But you're right. It is. And also, watch this space. Watch this space. India, I've got some chips on India becoming one of the most powerful nations again. They have been a long time ago. Yeah. But again, with what's happening with the States and the shift in the whole, geopolitical movements at the moment, and there's a lot of stuff where the structures are falling apart, like you said before, Brian. Democracy is kind of really being shaken now because it's not the people voting for who we want. algorithms deciding who's going to do what and the division and all that. So anyway, there's a lot of change happening. And China, India, who knows? But India's a fascinating place. I mean, they got the biggest population on the planet, 1.3 billion or something. Their middle class has just exploded in the last 30 to 40 years. There's so much commerce being moved around inside that country, and they're spiritual.
That's no wonder, is it? Because they are so bloody hardworking. Like there is no safety net. Like when you're there in the landscape yourself, if they don't have one of those little single-fronted shops selling just packed with shit they're selling, little tiny shops in the village, then they're out there and they're growing something and they're bringing in and selling it in the market. Nobody's sitting back doing anything. They're all actively engaged in life and trading, whether they're growing and selling or small shop.
I think you see that here as well with the migration of Indians to Australia and how hard they're willing to work to build wealth for themselves. Yeah. And almost always it's their own business in some way, shape or form. Because even an Uber driver is their own business.
They are very entrepreneurial.
They're very much about building wealth through business. And that often doesn't have a safety net either, so they back themselves in,
Yeah, that's right.
And it's sacred, the cow, so that it's a sort of, it's almost, I don't know whether a standing joke is an exaggeration. We talk about the cows in India, they're sacred, the cows are sacred. They're fucking sacred, right? Let me tell you, because they have to be fed breakfast before they have their breakfast, the Hindus. Yeah. So they get up in the morning, the first thing they do is you feed the cow.
Or if you're sitting
go out and feed the cow.
If you're sitting in a cafe by the side of the street, the cow will just come up and put its head over the wall and just take your breakfast from it. And you can't do anything to it because it's the holy cow.
That's right. And you don't eat until the cows eat.
Just sleep in the middle of the road and the cars just go around them.
It's fantastic. It's like how cool. How cool.
Yeah.
And I'm a hunter. So I've got a thing about animals, and I like to,
eat them.
I like to eat game animals. I only take them to eat. And some animals that I love, but so I get beef. I can eat beef, but I love that they've got this relation. There's a relationship between. We've talked a lot about the human relationship, but that connection to nature, which I mentioned earlier, which I really like the idea of as well, Jim. I think that's really important. And we are related. Not just to human beings, are we? We're related to all the species on the planet. And that's sort of where you see that interaction happening in a really serious way, meaningful way in India. You go, oh, shit, that's right. We are just one of the dudes wandering around this
couple of hippies doing it.
No. It's a whole belief system. There's billions of them, It's really nice.
Just don't be a cow and accidentally wander too far northeast over into Bangladesh just before Ramadan and slaughtered in the streets. It's like, wrong side of the border. Oops.
Exactly. And given that we do have some people, sporting listeners to this podcast, that's the last time I'm going to mention Bangladesh today. I'm just putting on notice. Okay. Don't mention that name again.
All right.
If you're listening back in this podcast in 5 years' time, because Bangladesh just beat Australia in the cricket in Darwin.
My mates from South Africa sent me a text the other morning saying, Bangladesh. We didn't even know it was a country. The South Africans said to us with our cricket.
We got to go over there next. So
that's a fascinating country.
Yeah.
So I know we're not talking about Bangladesh, but I got to just share. So when I first arrived in Bangladesh, it was dry season, and I went. My sister was living there for a year or two working as a volunteer and blah, 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 blah. But when I first arrived, to get from Dhaka, the capital, out to the village where my sister was, you go on the roads are raised up above the fields. So they're farmers, right, in the dry season. They're all farming everywhere. And these roads are quite high up on these embankments. I'm like, well, this is a bit weird, I went in, I was there for 3 months. The wet season came when I was there. When I left, it was all submerged, and the farmers put away their ploughs and they pull out their boats and their fishing rods and they become fishermen on the same land that they were farming. And they do it every year. So they go from farming to fishing, like this. Yeah, incredible.
Utilising what nature's given you. Not fighting against it.
Well, you live on a delta plane, and it happens every year. So
that's right. That you work with the environment, don't you? You can't fight it, can't push against it. We're all still learning that here in the Western world in particular. You can't push. You can't push back on the environment. The environment will do what it does. You need to go roll with it.
Harder.
Roll with it. You've got to.
The ring of fire. All the earthquakes just recently. Jeez,
crazy.
So haven't been to Bangladesh, but we've got to Kolkata. So we've been close to that heat and humidity. Oh my God, that's hot there. Along the Ganga Delta, that end. So it's getting close to that area.
It is close. It's the same. They speak Bangla. They speak a similar language.
Yep. Yeah, Bengali. The Bengali. The people look a bit, different to other parts of India. Fascinating. Yeah. We'll have a longer conversation about India one day, mate.
Yeah, good.
Well, let's stay on that, because you mentioned that you and Talia are taking tours to India, and I knew that, but I thought they were more meditation retreats or hikes. So you're doing sort of just normal tours around India?
No, we don't do normal tours.
No.
And we've started to move more into a bespoke private experience. So, there's a group that we're taking next year, and I've built an 18-day program specifically for them. They're high net worth folks out of the States, and they want it lat-di-da. So we can do that. India's got all the opulence in the world that you want.
Absolutely.
But then there's other groups, like we're going there in October this year, and we're doing a small little cultural tour. So some folks are coming. We meet them in Delhi. We show them the side of Delhi that you can't buy in a brochure. Because I've got connections there that have taken me 30 years to build. So we take people in to family homes and into the culture, the way that the streets are that you can't experience as a tourist. Then we fly up into the Himalaya and we take them up to our family home there. We do a day trip up into the Tibetan valleys and go and have a look around there. We walk into villages and sit with the kids that we sponsor to go to school, so we get that kind of cultural feeling. We go in with my cousin, and she's an amazing cook, and we go into her beautiful big kitchen, and our guests get to come in there and learn how to cook Himalayan food with her. So it's it's a cultural immersion. And then in that, Talia is a yoga and Pilates and movement teacher and meditation teacher, so she does that in the mornings. And then I teach some human behavioural stuff in the days as well. So it's kind of like it's like that.
Can we go back a little bit on? Also, I'm really interested in the you talked about building meditation temples.
Yeah.
Well, how's that sort of come about? Obviously, you had the land. You were thinking about building one. But now you're talking about building and high-end stuff. How's this kind of fall into place?
Yeah. How does it happen? I don't know. You'd look back with the benefit of hindsight and go, I guess it kind of all one thing led to another. So I'm not building meditation halls per se. I'm building education sanctuaries.
Right.
That's what I'm calling them. So the main one that we're building in the Himalaya in India is going to be so that it can be a viable ongoing entity and it can look after itself. We're building a commercial high-end retreat centre. So it's going to be a place that people can book online to go and stay, high-end wellness. Just think luxury, wellness, remote, exotic location. So that's that. So it'll be a viable commercial entity. We've got investors from the Middle East that are going to put the coin up to do this. They'll get their money back. So it's a money thing for them.
Oh, of course.
But for us, it's about
that was probably my question around it too. Was how do you fund these things?
So it's a commercial enterprise. They're going to get return on their investment. They've done their research. They can see it's going to be profitable. Right, and we'll have a management company that run it, but it's all underneath the cultural framework of what I've designed and the global human coherence project that I've got, which is a re-education of senior leaders. And then we've got tech for them. That's a whole other thing that I could explain, but I won't go into it. So the one in the Himalaya was always going to be like the headquarters, the mothership, right? So we've got that property there. Then there's a mate of mine. A mate of mine's building these high-end retreat centres, but he calls them consciousness centres, but they're retreat centres. He's built one on an island in Bali, and I partnered with him, and I run retreats there. We're going there in a few weeks to run another retreat there. It's my third time there this year. And he's building these retreat centres. He's well off. He's building these retreat centres around the world.
Right.
So he's partnered with the royal family in Bhutan, for example, and he's building a big one in Bhutan. And he likes me and he likes my vision and I like him and I like his vision. And he said, Jem, why don't we just put one of your Centre of Love education hubs everywhere that I build one of my places, we'll just put one of yours in it. And I said, that'd be lovely. Thanks. And so he's paying for it. And he's just going to put one in and have the Centre of Love on it, and so we can use them as hub. And then so my vision started, and then I've got other mates over in the States who are doing similar things, and they want to support us as well. And so then I thought, right, if we're going to have an education hub, which is essentially just a place where we can run leadership programs. But what we're going to do is have them around the world and be aligned with the local Indigenous First Nations wisdom keepers in that location. So, for example, there's a commercial hospitality project in Boulder, Colorado that mates of mine are doing. We're going to raise the money for that, build a Centre of Love hub there. I'm going to sit with the First Nations folks from Boulder, Colorado, listen to them, get their Indigenous wisdom, weave it into the modern leadership program that we do. So when you go to our place in Boulder, Colorado, you'll have the Indian wisdom from that local place in the program that we teach. We're going to do the same thing in Bhutan. We'll have the wisdom from Bhutan. Same thing over at our place in India. I'm chatting with folks up in far north Queensland here on country up there. There's a mob that are building their own stuff up there. Our idea is that we sponsor an education sanctuary up there and we get our First Nations mob wisdom into the leadership program there. So the idea is at the end, there'll be like a menu of different locations around the world where senior leaders can go, I want to do this leadership program and I want the Amazonian flavour. Right, they pick off the menu where they want to go and get that. And so then the revenue that gets generated through each location goes to the locals. We don't own it. It's not a money grab for us. The money goes back into the local community. Sovereignty, responsibility, custodianship type thing. So that's that bigger vision. And then I'm partnered with some tech companies. I'm partnered with an AI company that had built an AI it's the alignment AI. So the AI has been completely designed as a filter between all the other AIs and humans to make sure that the AIs are communicating with us aligned with our values, human values, right? So they've built this AI. So we want to get this put in. Another mate of mine has got a piece of tech that is scalable. So we give the leaders this scalable tech. They go back to their organisation, their company or their sector, and then they can scale this tech. And the tech actually, ironically enough, the tech works as a catalyst to remind humans to connect with each other. So there's a tech that reminds us to stay human. Right. So this is part of this bigger vision and body of work that we're doing. And I've spent the last, since COVID really, but especially in the last 3 years, I've spent a lot of hours building really, really good, solid relationships with folks around the world who have got access to resource and who give a shit and we're all kind of working together to try and help humanity head in the right direction. Because you got Darth Vader and the Emperor over there kicking the toys around the bloody sandpit and causing chaos in the world. And then there's a bunch of people who are not well known but have access to a lot of resource and do care. They don't make the news because they're doing good things.
Because they're not. That's not what they're about. That's not what they're
the bad news sells. Mainstream news sells all the bad shit. And if you just watched mainstream news, you'd think we're fucked. But over here, quietly, there's a lot of good people doing real good work. And that's the mob that I'm, in working with and partnering with. And we're going to have a crack at seeing what we can do anyway.
And you have a podcast too, I just remembered.
I do,
it just dawned on me. I've been listening to it actually.
Have you? Right.
Yeah. I listened to the Simon Madden one.
Oh, yep.
Yeah. I've got the right Madden, so I was just double checking.
Yep, Simon Madden,
that was interesting. Yeah, so I've been listening to a couple of those. Yeah. So that how's that come about? I guess just if you're talking to these people, it's
I put it off for years.
And their conversation.
I said, no, I don't want to do a podcast for years. And I've got a literary agent in the States who publishes my book over there. And he said, no, you got to do a podcast. And I said, I don't want to. And then late last year, I was keynoting at a gig and one of the speakers spoke about how you should have a podcast. And it was just the right moment, the right time. And I went, okay, all right, I'll do it. And all I do is record the conversations. I've got someone that does all the post-production and someone that does all the social media and stuff. Thanks, mate. And but interestingly enough, as soon as I said, all right, I'll do it, then I started getting these guests coming to be on the show that I hadn't even released yet. Simon Madden was a personal favourite for me because I'm a Bombers sufferer. And but he was a childhood hero of mine and we became mates a little while ago. So to have him on the show was great. But then also people like Neil Donald Walsh, who wrote Conversations with God, Jack Canfield, who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul. So I've had some really high quality guests on.
Are these coming through your networks as far as like the courses you do, the programs you run, all that kind of thing? Or?
Yeah, just the network. I've got a really extensive global network now. And I'm meeting some really wonderful people who are doing, amazing things. And, it's normal. Like last week, I got introduced to a guy who's running for the presidency of France.
Really?
And we got on a call and we spent an hour and a half just connecting with each other and getting along like a house on fire. And he said, mate, if there's anything I can do with his French accent, obviously. If there's anything,
You're not going to have a go at that. You're pretty good on the Englishman earlier. You're not going to have a go at the French.
I can do a few accents. I'm not great at French. I think I'll leave it. I'm not going to.
You don't pull French off, I can sound.
No, I'm not going to butcher it. No, he, but so we're connected now. And he said, look, let's stay in touch because there's ways that we can. There's ways that we might be able to help each other, and there's really a global movement now of people who understand that we need to be a tide that lifts all the boats, right? So in the past, you might have someone doing great work over here on their own or someone doing great work over there on their own. But now I think we actually really need to start working together more. And so it's happening. Like I said before, you don't hear about it or read about it in the news, but it is happening and it's good. Like in India just recently, I was with a mate of mine. He's got a very, very large charity in India. I'm the global ambassador for his charity. They've put more than 10 million kids through school. And I was staying with him in Delhi and he said, oh, look, I've got a lunch. I couldn't get out of this lunch at a friend's place. Just come with me. So I went round to his mate's place for lunch. We sit there and have curry with this guy and his wife. This guy was the doctor who eradicated polio out of the whole of India.
Wow.
He's the deputy director of the Bill Gates Foundation for the whole of India. Yeah. And I've sat with him and we've had lunch and he ended up in tears telling me about his 17-year-old who took his own life. And we became we're mates now, And then the following week, I was out for dinner, private dinner, just sitting in a restaurant with me and this bloke and his wife and our mutual friend, and he founded the HDFC Bank. He's a 75-year-old who founded one of the biggest banks in the world.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there having curry with him, right? And so I'm starting to meet people who, like I said before, they've got influence, they've got access to resource, they're good people.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious about how can we work together to amplify what we're doing and mobilize some resource to good things, so.
Yeah, and the world needs it.
Yeah, bloody oath.
It needs people doing that, and to be able to do it on a global scale is pretty impressive, and it's certainly beyond the comprehension of many of us. But we can also do it at a local community level too, right? And this is what the conversation we had with Graham a couple of weeks ago, and it because we sort of asked him the same question: how do you make these changes on a global level? He's talking about. The environment, obviously, and global warming and all of that kind of thing. And he said, you got to start at your local community.
Has to be.
And then if you can do this community and that community and another community and all these communities can do it, that's when it starts becoming,
and even more micro than your own community. It's got to start at home.
Yeah.
Jordan.
Start with yourself, doesn't it, really?
Yeah, it starts with yourself. It's like Jordan Peterson says, clean up your own house before you go and start telling other people how to have a clean house. And but bringing it back to local and for us guys being here in Torquay, one of my mates who we were talking about earlier before we started recording, I think, or maybe you were recording, I can't remember. But anyway, a mate of mine, I just had a catch-up coffee with him the other day, Juddy. And Juddy here in Torquay started Dig, which is essentially a men's group, but it's open to anyone can, talk and stuff. But it's a men's mental health group here in Torquay. Yep. Doing amazing stuff, rites of passage stuff now as well. But we really kind of mobilised a few years back. I don't know if you remember, but there was just around the time of, just after COVID actually, there was a few teenage suicides here in Torquay. And one of them was friends of one of my sons, and they knew each other through the skate park. And it really shook up the young male community here. And us older blokes were coming together going, what can we do? What can we actually do? Vic government's not going to do anything about this,
And if they did, it would be useless anyway because they don't know how to communicate.
So how do we do this? And so there was, there was a bunch of, there's a really good community of men here in Torquay who care about community and how do we volunteer our time to try and, address some of these problems, not just suicide, but even just, so that the kids feel included and the cost of living. I mean, locals getting priced out of their own town down here.
Yeah, for sure.
Our kids, my kids say to me, Dad, how could I ever afford to live in the town I grew up in? And we grew up in Aries, they grew up in Aries, but there's good people here and there's grassroots stuff happening here. Look up Dig, which is DIIGG.
Yep.
And Juddy, and I'll introduce you to Juddy. You should get him on the show.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I mean, it seems to me that your life has been pretty serendipitous. It's kind of just panned out pretty well for you, from maybe apart from a bit of a stint working in corporate, from being somebody who just loved traveling to really turning into a career, but also, making change. So I wonder, and I have warned you about this question. Our guest last week, unfortunately, I didn't warn him, and he was left. He was a little bit flabbergasted, but
he had a good response. All the same, a different response
yeah,
to most people. So that was fine.
But based on what you know now and the way your life's unfolded, if you had an opportunity to travel back in time and speak to your 14-year-old self, what would you tell him?
Pretty straightforward. I'd just go to him and say, mate, please remember that you are always enough. You're always enough. You're always good enough just the way you are. You don't need to be more like that guy over there. You don't need to be taller, faster, smarter, better. You're enough just the way you are. That's what I'd tell him.
It's very similar to the response I've sort of said. If sometimes a guest will ask us back and just have faith in yourself. Yeah. You are talented. Yeah. You will achieve good things.
Yeah.
Just have faith in yourself and stop.
You're enough, Because I've obviously done a lot of work on this stuff and, going back and reflecting on the stories that we tell ourselves from the things that happen, etc. And I look back to that version of me, and a lot of the pain and suffering and anxiety and worry and, stuff that I've been through in my life. And it all stemmed from that feeling like I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
So that's what I'd give him.
And that's a particular feeling at that age, isn't it? 13 to 16, it's a horrible age for young men, for young women too. I don't know from personal experience, obviously, but I know what young men go through at that age from personal experience, and it is that feeling that you're not enough. It is that feeling that you need to be more. You need to be somebody else. You need to be the person on the TV screen playing footy, or you need to be the person on the bloody TikTok reel doing this or that.
Yeah.
And I guess, it seems to me a good question, a good answer to tell any 14-year-old boy, really.
Yeah, boy or girl.
Yeah.
It is actually one of the 3 human core fears.
Yeah.
What if I'm not enough when we're little? And it's a survival fear because it's what if I'm not enough for my mum and dad to want to protect me and feed me and nurture me and raise me. Right? What if I'm not good enough for my mum and dad? And so it's a very human fear, and it plays out subconsciously into a whole bunch of stuff. You hear people talk about the imposter syndrome. So someone who's made it, and they're a famous sports person or a famous actor or whatever, and they have that imposter syndrome.
Still don't think they're enough. Yeah.
Yeah, and they think, shit, someone's going to come and knock on my door and go, you don't deserve all this.
Take it all away. Yeah.
Take it all away. So that comes from what if I'm not enough?
Yeah.
And also we hear about sabotage. So what someone's becoming really successful and they sabotage it because they don't think they deserve the success. And then also we hear about people who are just too frozen in the fear to go out and try and make their dreams come true.
Yep.
The reason they're frozen in their fear is because what if I try and I fail, which will prove to me that I'm not enough? So it all comes back to this core fear of what if I'm not enough? And I used to think I was a freak and it was just me.
Yeah.
And then I started coaching folks and went, oh shit, this is most people.
Yeah. And I think just touching quickly on that as well, what a lot of people don't realise is that successful people have failed many times over. Many times.
Yeah.
In order to get to that point, they've had to try stuff and it hasn't worked out. 100%. And they move on to the next thing.
Yeah,
rather than just wallowing in that one failure and going, I'm never going to do it again.
Yeah,
because I've proven to myself that I'm not good enough.
Yeah,
do it.
Yeah.
Jem, it's a really interesting journey you're on, isn't it? I'm just sort of reflecting on what you've told us about who you are and how you've got to where you are now. Thinking about your time through the Catholic education system.
Yep.
Looking relatively unscathed from my side of the table at the moment. We don't have a detailed response to that, but then you try and travel, all of that rich immersion in travel, and looking after yourself through all of that sort of stuff, and then time in the corporate world and a senior role in the corporate world. Like it's a really interesting journey. I'm just wondering, can you recognise in yourself, or can you describe your core values or your core beliefs in any sort of succinct way? Like, who is Jem now? What, there's a lot of stuff driving you. Can you distill it a little to some of the key things that...
Yes. And this is what I aspire to be. So before I'm somebody's son or brother or husband or father or coach or before any of those things, at the core of who I identify with is at the core of the character, which is your question. Kind, generous, open-minded, action-taking, loving. You know, those are the most important values to me. Yeah. And when I'm aspiring to be those, then I feel like I'm home. I feel like that's a good place to start. And what I love about identifying with the quality of your character, so I am a kind, caring, open-minded, generous, loving, action-taking man, right? That's my sense of identity. Yeah. No one can ever take that away from me. No. And it's not dependent on anything. Like if I've identified as I'm a surfer, right, and then I have some accident with my legs and I can't surf anymore, then I have an identity crisis. Or if I've identified as I'm a pianist, right, I play the piano and my whole life I've been this concert pianist, and then I have an accident with my hands and I can't play the piano anymore, I have an identity crisis. But when you identify as being kind, nothing can stop you from being kind.
Only you can.
Only you can. Yeah. And if you've identified with your relationships, like I'm so-and-so's husband, if she leaves you or dies, then you have an identity crisis. You go, holy shit, she's not here. But I thought that was one of my core parts of my identity was being her husband. But if you identify as the values beneath who you are, regardless of whether you're married or not, regardless of whether you're making beer or selling property or whatever you're doing, regardless of any of that, your sense of self can always still be intact. It's a stable sense of identity. So it's a great question that you asked, Brian, and that's my answer to it.
I think that's a really important thing to have, for anyone to have, because, you mentioned the making beer thing, and I went through a period of making beer, and I identified with that person.
You were a brewer.
I did.
And a businessman, and an entrepreneur.
I opened the local bar, and I did this, and then when that was taken away, I was like, shit, who am I now?
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm a 55-year-old bloke with no job,
Are you 55 now?
You're 55
Were you
now,
born in 71?
No, 70. I'm about to turn
70.
56. Yeah.
You just got a smidge on me, mate. I'm the 71 vintage.
Yeah. No, I'm December 70, so
there you go.
Very end of.
Very end of.
Yeah.
Same vintage.
Yeah.
That's good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, those core qualities that make you human, who you are irrelevant.
Exactly.
So you've still got those.
You've always got that as a centre.
And you have them
to come back to.
You mightn't put a name to them, but
I do, but it took me a while to.
Yeah, and they are the things, as Jim's saying, aren't they? The things that make you who you are, make you feel good about yourself and good about your relationships with others is your own centre of who you are, not what you do, who you've been, who you really are in your heart, and what it is that motivates you to do those things. So.
Yep.
Yeah, I like those core your little core set there. Yep. I love all of them, but I love generosity because one of the thing that resonates from me from way back in my undergraduate students in social anthropology was a saying: "Give generously."
Yeah.
For in giving there lies no risk.
Yeah.
I've never forgotten one of the few things I remember from university, but the only thing I can remember. That really resonated for me. I just think that generosity is one of the really key human core
I love
gifts,
And when you give with zero expectation of any reciprocity, it's not about what I'm going to get at all. When you give purely for the giving, it's amazing what comes to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. That's been fantastic, mate. Thank you so much.
Great note to finish the conversation.
It is. Or start a new one. It's one of the things about this podcast. We get through a conversation and then we find there's so many roads leading from it. It's fantastic. Yeah, it's really good.
And you never know where the conversation ends. Goes to.
No.
When the guest walks in the door. So, thank you, Jem. I know you guys. You're a busy man. You've got a lot of projects on the go and a lot coming up, and I think you're heading back overseas very soon. So
we are. Yep.
So we really appreciate your time and joining us,
mate. It's been so lovely to sit in your studio here in Torquay and do a podcast in person. Yeah. And so thank you for inviting me down. I'm really grateful.
Thanks for coming in.
Cheers.
Doesn't it?
Some folks might say that I'm no good, that I wouldn't settle down if I could. But when that open road starts to call in me, there's something